What was your biggest "we need to leave now" moment? I was house sitting for my rich aunt when I noticed the smart doorbell kept lighting up at 3 a.m. every night, but no one was ever there when I checked. Night one, I figured it was just a glitch. My aunt had this whole smart home setup. Cameras, motion sensors, the works. She'd given me a 20-minute tutorial before leaving for her month-long European cruise, showing me how to check everything from the app on my phone. Night two, same thing. Motion detected at exactly 3:17 a.m., but the live feed showed an empty driveway. The notification would buzz my phone, I'd groggily check the camera, see nothing, and go back to sleep. By night three, I was getting paranoid and decided to actually walk outside and look around. My aunt's house sat on this massive property with a circular driveway and perfect landscaping. Everything looked normal in the moonlight, but something felt off. That's when I found them. Fresh cigarette butts by the mailbox. Marlboro Reds. At least a dozen of them scattered in the mulch, like someone had been standing there for hours multiple times. Someone had been watching the house, positioning themselves just outside the camera's range. I checked the doorbell's motion history on the app. Scrolling back through weeks of data, my stomach dropped. For the past month, the entire time my aunt had been in Europe, someone had been triggering that sensor every single night between 3 and 4 a.m. Not random times, consistent, deliberate. Then I remembered something weird. When my aunt gave me the house keys, she'd mentioned her neighbor Dave was keeping an eye on things while I'm gone. She'd pointed to this modest ranch house next door and said he was retired, lived alone, really trustworthy guy. But Dave had never introduced himself. I'd been there a week and seen him in his yard multiple times, watering plants, checking his mail, walking his little terrier. He'd look over, see me, and just turn away. Never a wave, never a hello. For someone supposedly watching out for the place, he sure didn't seem friendly. That night, I made a decision. Instead of going to bed, I turned off all the lights and positioned myself in the dark living room with a clear view of both the front yard and Dave's house. I had my phone ready to record and 911 on speed dial. At 2:45 a.m., like clockwork, I saw movement. A figure emerged from Dave's backyard, moving slowly and deliberately. Even in the darkness, I could make out his outline. Average height, baseball cap, something glinting in his hand. He walked straight to our mailbox and just stood there, completely still, staring at the house. But here's what made my blood run cold. He wasn't just watching anymore. He was holding keys, house keys, a whole ring of them that caught the streetlight. I watched in horror as he started walking toward our front door, keys extended like he owned the place. That's when muscle memory kicked in, and I started recording on my phone while simultaneously calling 911. 911, what's your emergency? Someone's trying to break into the house I'm staying at, I whispered, barely breathing. They have keys. The dispatcher kept me on the line while I described what I was seeing. Dave, because it was definitely him now that he was closer, was trying different keys in the front door lock. The fourth one worked. The door opened. I was trapped upstairs with nowhere to go as I heard footsteps in the entryway below. But instead of coming upstairs toward the bedrooms, I heard him moving toward the back of the house, toward my aunt's study where she kept her expensive art collection and jewelry. Police arrived 8 minutes later, which felt like 8 hours. They found Dave in the study, calmly loading paintings into a rolling suitcase like he had all the time in the world. Turns out, neighbor Dave had been slowly moving my aunt's valuables to his garage for weeks, thinking no one would notice until she got back from Europe. He'd somehow gotten copies of her keys made, probably lifted them during one of their friendly neighbor chats before she left. The cops found thousands of dollars worth of her stuff in his house. Antique jewelry, rare books, small sculptures, even her expensive kitchen appliances. He'd been methodically cleaning her out, planning to disappear before she returned. The worst part? When they arrested him, he had the nerve to act confused, telling the officers he was just checking on things like my aunt had asked. Said he thought the house was still empty. My aunt cut her cruise short and blew back immediately. She couldn't believe her trusted neighbor had been robbing her blind for a month. Turns out he'd done this before. Police found similar complaints from 2 other elderly neighbors on the block. Never trust someone who has convenient access to your life, especially when their helpfulness seems too good to be true.